little bite-sized version of Inside Chelsea. I'm joined by Matisse, and we're going to be looking at all the transfer rumours about our club, given transfer deadline day is not too far away now, and we're of course going to look ahead to the Fulham game at Stamford Bridge, which is on Saturday lunchtime. Matisse, first of all, let's talk transfers, because not long to go now, and there was a new name that we've been linked with, and that's Fermin Lopez. I mean, I don't know about you, but I felt like this rumour has come out of absolutely nowhere.
Yeah, very random for me as well, because of course it's been very heavily reported that Chelsea are interested in Garnacho, Xavi Simons, and they basically can't get either of those deals over the line until they move on Jackson and Nkunku. And then this player, Lopez, comes out of nowhere from Barcelona, where I didn't even realise he was available. He's a very good player, for sure, and maybe it's an alternative to Simons because he's been linked with Tottenham, or maybe he's been waiting for a move. I don't know his relationship with Leipzig right now. I'm sure he'll just be able to stay there until January if this doesn't go through. I'm sure the relationship is still very much healthy, unlike we've seen other players in this transfer window where it's almost they can't go back to the clubs they're currently at. But yeah, it's a strange one, very random. But from a profile standpoint, it seems to kind of line up with what Chelsea are looking at, some sort of attacking midfielder if Palmer's out, and he did obviously go down before the game against West Ham. So yeah, they're probably just looking at some depth.
So do you think that if Chelsea don't get Xavi Simons, then Fermin Lopez could be an option? But it does feel like Xavi Simons is the first choice.
Yeah, no, I think he could be. He's one of those players that he's an attacking midfielder. He kind of reminds me of like Mason Mount a little bit before the injuries, especially when he was two-time Player of the Year at Chelsea. Someone that, yeah, you have a favoured position of an 8 or a 10, but they can do a job in other parts of the pitch if you do move them out wide. They can get in between the lines and kind of link play up. So I like him. He's a good player. I've not seen loads of him, but I think Chelsea, it seems like a profile that they're sticking to this window where they want a replacement for Nkunku, but they want someone that maybe can, kind of go in between midfield and attack quite seamlessly.
Yeah, and someone we've been linked with this whole window, and it doesn't look like slowing down anytime soon, is Alejandro Garnacho. And it feels like Man United want a certain amount, Chelsea want to pay half of that amount. Do you think, I've always thought that he'll be a Chelsea player come the end of the window, and I think I still think the same. Do you think that?
Yeah, it seems like it will be, because the way that it's being reported, it seems like it's guaranteed to happen.
Yeah.
Chelsea obviously just need an exit, and that's the more tricky thing, is who's going to pay the money up front for Jackson or Nkunku. But with Garnacho, I think Chelsea should be taking this right down to the wire. Man United have no, bargaining power. They have no real say on where he goes, because he's been rejecting approaches from all other clubs, whether it be Bayern Munich, whether it be, Napoli or even outside Europe. He doesn't want to go anywhere but Chelsea. That's what it seems to be. So he's obviously agreed personal terms, and now Man United, they don't have him included in their squads. They're not using him. The relationship there between him and the manager's broken down. So I think Chelsea could get him at a real cut price at the end of the window, unless Man United are willing to have him in the reserves and wait until January, which I don't really see why they would be willing to do that. So, yeah, I think Chelsea they're in a strong position. It's one of the strongest positions I've ever seen with a club going for a player, to be honest.
Would you be happy with Alejandro Garnacho? Because I know there's a lot of Chelsea fans out there that aren't as set on him, but I think the fact that we're all sort of come around to the idea that it's probably going to definitely happen.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh, okay, well, there is potential there, and maybe a new club is a new start and a new beginning for Alejandro Garnacho.
Yeah, I'm trusting that our captains, James, Enzo Fernandez, Colwell, of course, out injured, but still play a big presence in the training ground. I'm hoping they kind of do lead from the front with him, because obviously there has been some issues off the pitch, or there has been some kind of drama around him since he's in the last couple of months, at Manchester United. But am I absolutely elated with this one? No. Personally, I would have preferred another player to come in. I feel like we could do with some consistency. We could do with some guaranteed quality on that left wing. I feel like we've already got a young, developing, improving player in Gittins. And the reason why I say it is more because of where we are. I feel like the mentality shift in the team, the kind of culture environment we've built in the last few months, winning the Club World Cup. I actually think Chelsea could take a really good push for the league. You can see other teams have got defensive issues in the opening weeks. They've got players that they need to get over the line in the transfer window this week as well. It's not like anyone's head and shoulders out front that we can't keep up with. So personally, I would have preferred someone of a higher level. But if he comes in, of course, he's Chelsea. We've got to back him from day one. And like you said, he's young. He's only 20. He's had a lot of minutes. So I'm hoping that he could kick on here.
Yeah, talking about outgoings then, because obviously, like we say, we can only bring in the likes of Xavi Simons and Alejandro Garnacho if Nicholas Jackson and Christopher Nkunku do get sold. I mean, where do you stand on Nicholas Jackson? Because I've always said that I know he's raw, I know he's had a few discipline issues, that obviously the red card against Newcastle hasn't helped or got in his favour, the red card in the Club World Cup as well.
Yeah.
I just don't know how confident, not that I feel in João Pedro and Liam Delap, because I really like them too. I like them individually, I like them playing together. But I just don't know how I feel with going into such a long season in the Champions League with so many games with just those two. You know, João Pedro, I know he can play there, but he's not an out and out number 9. Liam Delap is.
Yep.
I just think Jackson could help us, but it just feels like the relationship feels like it's done on both parts.
Yeah, I agree with you, to be honest. I want 3 strikers. I know in modern football people say a lot of teams have 2 strikers, but for me, when have Chelsea ever copied what others do? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're in 4 competitions. I'd love us to go all the way in all of them. I think we could definitely get a 3rd star. You know what I mean? If we really go for it, there's no reason why not. We're great in knockout competitions.
Honestly,
you know?
we actually are. We are built. We are built for knockout football. We always have been, and we always will be.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I look at the days of, even when you had like Demba Ba, Torres, and Eto'o, and you know, in Mourinho's first campaign, I feel better with 2 strikers and 3 strikers, and I feel like 2 striker systems is something that we shouldn't rule out tactically for Maresca. We saw it against West Ham. He played João Pedro with Delap, and that created a whole different type of dynamic. Delap was able to kind of occupy centre backs, play on the last line, kind of bully them, and João Pedro got all that extra space to kind of box, crash, and create, which he did for Pedro Neto's goal. So I would like to be able to play with 2 strikers, but when we did that, we didn't have a striker on the bench. So that's the thing, and it's very difficult to kind of find a striker that's willing to play that role that Jackson's currently potentially could play, and be happy. And initially the reports were he wants to fight for his place, he wants to be here, but it does feel like Chelsea are eagerly looking for a fee, because there is a massive profit margin to be made on what we paid from Villarreal to what we could potentially get now in this market with what you see with the fees banded about. So I think it'd be a big shame. I think it's a bit of a risk for sure. I agree with you. I personally would look to replace him and get another striker in if we did let him go, but we'll have to see what happens. But it's definitely a gamble. I think one injury and you're kind of in a situation where Neto has to go up front off the bench as a winger again.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that. Like, but I think the problem is that how happy is Nicholas Jackson going to be playing that role, you know? And if he doesn't want to play that role, then fair enough, because he could definitely go to, I look at Newcastle or you know, any of the teams. If you know, I don't know, wherever, Villa, if Watkins maybe goes or whatever. But I still think he can do a job, and I'm a bit sad because I do think it's inevitable that he probably will leave Chelsea. There's been another little rumour, I don't know how reliable it is, that Tyreek George could be on his way out as well. I mean, getting 20 million for him would be something. I think that's the rumoured number that Roma apparently want to play. I mean, it would be sad to see him go, but just like, where does he fit in this Chelsea team currently?
Yeah, thing is with Tyreek George is we tend to have quite a big influx of attackers every summer as well. You know, you got Quenda 2026 from Sporting Lisbon, Kendry Pires is on loan at Strasbourg. I'm sure there'll be more, you know, players coming through. Of course, we've just spoken about Xavi Simons and potentially Garnacho. So there isn't really any space, and I feel like he could do with the game time. He's definitely talented. We saw it against Fulham away. What a massive goal that he scored to equalise, to kind of set Chelsea back on the right path for Champions League football. I feel like he for me, he's not a touchline winger. I look at him and I think he gets a really good shot off. He's really good in maybe the pockets or just closer to goal. I look at maybe even like, he won't go there, but Manchester United's kind of system where you have the tucked in 10s. I feel like he's better in maybe a system like that. So if he was to go to a Leipzig where they do, you know, play with maybe 2 up top and he's a shadow striker or something like that, tactically that might help him. I think there's goals in his game, definitely. Yeah. The way he strikes the ball and he struck it for Chelsea, he looks like he can get goals. So yeah, I like him as a player. But if we put a buyback there or there's some sort of clause where there's a way back for him in the future, I think he's a good player to keep an eye on for sure.
Yeah, I think there was a sell-on clause, I think, that Chelsea wanted to put in. But yeah, I think most Chelsea fans would agree with you. It would be a little bit sad to see him go, but I think 20 million for a player that's played a handful of games. Yeah. And it probably makes sense for him as well. He wants to go and play football and he's not going to get regular playing time at Chelsea. Let's look ahead to the Fulham game then, because this was a game in which we lost last year. It was funny. We did to Fulham at their ground what they did to us at Stamford Bridge, and it was a killer. It was a last minute. We were 1-0 up, weren't we? And then lost.
We were, yeah. Christmas time always gets us.
Oh, classic Chelsea meltdown at Christmas. Hopefully not this year.
Yeah.
But it was obviously following on from West Ham. It was, no Palmer, no problem.
Mm.
It doesn't look like he's going to be fit for Fulham. Even if he was fit, I don't think we should play him. I think we should rest him until after the international break. Hopefully he doesn't go away with England.
Yeah.
But I was pleasantly surprised by... Do you know what I was most surprised with in that West Ham game and gave me great confidence going into Saturday is that we didn't panic when we went 1-0 down, and we didn't panic. We probably wouldn't have panicked had we have gone 2-0 down, but the reaction to going 1-0 down, I remember times last season and the season before, I was thinking, oh God, if we go 1-0 down, the game's over.
Yeah.
Because we just don't know how to respond. But yeah, that gave me a lot of confidence seeing how those players reacted. And really, by the end of it, we didn't even need to get out of first gear, did we?
No, absolutely, smashed them to pieces in that match. We just dominated. And it's funny with Chelsea is there's definitely a mentality shift. We've had a lot of trials and tribulations over the last few months in terms of, going to Nottingham Forest away on the last day. There's a lot of pressure there. Club World Cup, there's lightning bolts in the sky. You've got to take a break against Benfica and come back and win there. The final against PSG. Yeah. There's something different about this team, and it's clearly the maturity and the fact that they're all aging and obviously growing and improving together. And you're right, we trust this team now to kind of deal with the circumstances that come their way. And I feel like this game, West Ham are a really poor team right now, and Palace obviously, they're really organised and a really good team. We saw that against City and Liverpool in the respective finals. This is a really good kind of medium where I feel like Fulham at home, if you're in a title race, if you're serious about contending at the top end, you've got to win games like this, and they've got a good manager and pretty settled squad. Didn't really make many changes in the transfer window, so I'm looking forward to it. I think we'll be really good, and I'm looking forward to just watching Esteval as well, because that's the guy that with 5 minutes, to go to the game, he had to emergency make himself available and go into that team, and what a performance! The assist, the dribbling.
Should have scored though.
Oh, he should have.
Oh, honestly, I was in the away end going, just why didn't you take a touch? And the ball from Reece James was just
immaculate.
Imagine how much Chelsea fans would have absolutely gone crazy.
And
a Reece James assist like that and an Esteval finish. That is what we're waiting for, isn't it?
Absolutely. And you know what, Liv, as well? This is the funny thing. This is the second game week in a row where he's nearly scored, because against Palace as well, he kind of slipped before he shot. Andre Santos, another one I'm a massive fan on. He could have scored at the end of the game against Palace. We could have had massive limbs there as well. So we're getting there with these Brazilian talents. I think a goal is definitely coming. I wouldn't be surprised if it came in this game for Esteval, to be honest. He's so brave on the ball. He's so daring. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to watching him again. And also Pedro Neto, massive performance on that left-hand side as well. I thought he was brilliant.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, actually, because I thought in the first game he looked a little bit tired. Just thought it wasn't like the same Pedro Neto that has this burst of pace and burst of energy, but I absolutely saw that against West Ham. I actually thought he was one of the best players on the pitch.
Yeah, I agree. So tenacious, so hard-working. Kind of reminds me of Willian in a way when we had him, and he was kind of on the opposite flank to Hazard. Just balanced out Esteval really well, who's obviously much younger. He's going to have a little couple backflips and kind of turn over the ball a little bit, but that happens when you're obviously trying to impress. Pedro Neto just gives you that kind of stability on the other side where he's just going to track his runners. He's going to be up and down, and yeah, he was just brilliant. Back post, great finish, and just exactly what we needed over there.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, Maresca decided to start Liam Delap and João Pedro, which sort of meant that João Pedro had a little bit more of a free role, sort of came deeper to pick up the ball every now and again. Did you like the way that looked? Because I quite liked it. I was quite pleasantly surprised with how they played together. Yeah,
I did. And do you know what's funny? When we signed him, that's exactly the role I thought he would play. Because obviously we saw Palmer on the right against PSG with the overlap from Gusto. So I thought, okay, maybe this Nkuku second striker position is opening up again, and we saw different systems and ways it could work. So this is something he's more than capable of doing. He's more than capable of playing just off the front man, and then it's an extra body in the box when we cross the ball as well. Now it's him and Delap instead of just one person. So I think it should be an option that we should look at. Obviously, every game's different. Tactically, we're going to do different things, but this is why I want the three strikers, and I think you do too. Is just because when you do that and say it's not working or they're not having great games or someone gets injured, you don't want to suddenly not be able to ever do it again because you've only got two strikers.
Yeah, I think it's the options. What did you make of Liam Delap's performance? Because, I mean, I would have loved him to get on the score sheet. But I saw some Chelsea fans, I mean, X isn't the way to sort of, it doesn't really count for much. But I did see some fans criticising his performance, and I actually thought he played really well. Yeah,
I mean, he was heavily involved in the Esteval assist. He's the one that kind of laid it off. I thought his role was very, very clear and defined for me, and that's exactly what I expect from him, which is yeah, we want our strikers to get goals, but we also want them to kind of occupy the centre backs, and that's what he did.
Handful. He's a handful.
The amount of duels he got himself into, or the amount of times he had the ball played into him and he kind of won the 50-50, and then other players that are not as strong physically are able to pick up the pieces and kind of play into space now. He's the decoy, and I think a lot of people have to get used to the fact that his role and the way he plays is not going to be as the way João Pedro plays at his best or the way Jackson played at his best. His role is going the other way, running towards goal, making those kind of selfless runs where someone might not play him in, they might not find him, but he's taking attention away from others, so there's that space. And the fact that he's able to do that at a young age is brilliant. And we all know he can strike a ball. We all know that he's ready to score goals. So for me, he did it at Ipswich. I'm not worried about him. We didn't pay a lot of money for him as well. I think he's just a really good option to have in the squad.
Yeah, he definitely is. I really, really like Liam Delap. And because obviously we don't think Cole Palmer's going to be fit for Saturday. Even if he is, I genuinely don't think I would risk him. I just don't think it's... Yeah. I think we're in a position now where we're at like a luxury where we can actually not play Cole Palmer. It doesn't feel like we have to rely on him as much. Obviously, Fulham are a much better side than West Ham. So do you think that Maresca will go with them both again, or do you think it will be obviously a different game, so he might go with a different setup?
Yeah, it's interesting because how will Fulham approach this? Will it be a low block? Will they come at us? I think if we had maybe Xavi Simons and Garnacho already signed, I think there'd be more room for maybe a surprise in the lineup. But because we haven't got those guys in time for maybe training and tactical, information and instructions to get across, I wouldn't be surprised if it's the same. I think Esteval has to start on that right-hand side. He's been dangerous in both the games he's played over there. Palace, he had a really good influence as well, created a chance and then he scored. I like Neto on the left. I think he's just as capable on the left as he is on the right. And Gittins could be a really good option off the bench, just an extra burst of pace. And then if we are winning, he can come on and kind of stretch teams and kind of take advantage. So I think it's the same attack for me, Liv. I think it worked really well.
And then if Palmer then is fit, let's go after the international break, which is fine. Is it basic then Liam Delap drops back out? Do you think he's only experimenting with that because of Cole Palmer or not?
It's difficult because Delap with him against low blocks, he kind of pushes the line back, and he's one of those players that he creates chaos. Like he's very like interested in causing a problem.
You just don't sometimes I watch games and I just think, oh my God, like these defenders have had it so easy.
Exactly.
Like, there's no one running in behind. There's no one challenging for, like, I remember when he played for Ipswich, the amount of he was just, like you say, chaos.
Against us, yeah.
Oh my God, against us, especially the game at Portman Road. Jesus, It was just constant, and he never gives you a second to breathe. And I think that's where, don't get me wrong, João Pedro has that little bit about him as well, where he likes to put himself about a bit. Yeah. And I think together, that's where they both want to do that, which I think is really good. And I think you need players like that and make a difference.
Absolutely. You don't want, when you're going up against a team like that, you don't want to take the pace down to the lowest level and make everything predictable. And you want to kind of make it unpredictable and fight, to a degree on that last line. So for me, I can see a world where Palmer, even if he is ready, he's on the bench just to keep him, under cotton wool, and you don't want to almost advertise him to England too much, so they take him for international break.
He's absolutely injured for that.
Yeah, he's injured.
Sorry.
He's injured.
He hasn't recovered in time.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Okay, score prediction. What do we think? Hopefully, it doesn't go as badly as the last time we played them at Stamford Bridge.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely feeling good about this. I'll probably go Chelsea 2, Fulham 0. Yeah. I'm
going to go 2-1 just because I think we always seem to concede, but hopefully it's 3 points. And if it is, I'd look at that start of the season and go, actually, it's pretty strong and we're in a good position, especially going into the international break. Matisse, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Thank you for watching this little bite-sized version of Inside Chelsea. We'll be back very, very soon. See you next time. Bye-bye.